Little disclaimer on today's talk. It's going to be a little rough. It's on evil. Today I speak on evil. And so take a deep breath so that we can relax into the journey I'm about to take you on, because it is a journey we're about to take. Evil. It's so easy for us to believe in evil, that it exists. Hitler, the Holocaust, 12 million Jews killed. In the Sudan, for at least the last 50 years, one village raids another village and rapes all the teenage girls just to prove they can. The war in the Ukraine. War in the Middle East. Serial killers. Psychopaths. Man, we look around and we see all that and we go, of course there's evil in the world. In fact, a minister actually put that on the minister's listserv. Of course there's evil in the world. And there's victims. Who's going to tell a 13-year-old girl who's been raped that she's not a victim? Not me. And yet we have this teaching that says there are no victims and everybody's creating their lives. How do we work with that? How do we work with that idea that those two things actually exist in the world together? Like I said, it doesn't work to go around telling folks who have been victimized that they haven't been. That's their experience. They've really had that. And I'm really touched by that and overwhelmed by the fact that they've been through that. You know, people, there's social justice movements all over the planet because people feel that other people have been oppressed. But I read this article by this guy, I can't remember his first name, but his last name was Eisenson. And he was writing on the Middle East. And the title of his article was A 10,000-Year-Old Story. Because he was saying what's been going on in the Middle East has been going on for 10,000 years. People vilifying the other side. Right? But the more I thought about it, the more I realized this story's been going on over 100,000 years. The original myth brought forward as to why the sun doesn't stay in the sky was because something evil took it away. And only because good conquered evil did it come back around and come up in the sky. And so our earliest myths and ideas were around good and evil. Right there at the beginning of time, the beginning of humanity. And here's the thing that I've come to about that, and it has to do with something Einstein said. He said, you cannot come up with a solution with the same thinking that created the problem. We have been doing the same thinking for over 100,000 years, and it has solved nothing. There's still horrific stuff going on. We look around and we see it all over. And when we look at it and we think about it in the same thinking that's been going on for over 100,000 years, nothing changes. The definition of insanity: to do something over and over and over again and expect a different result. How about thinking something over and over and over again and expecting a different result? We keep telling the same story. We do it in different ways and it gets more complex. We go, oh, well, it's the good and evil we're dealing with here has some complexity to it. And so that's how we shift it a little bit. But in fact, it's still the same story. When in fact, if we're ever going to get out of this cycle, it's going to take something new. And our teaching leads us to that. We talk about the fact that, there's nothing to be healed, only truth to be revealed. We talk about how, and we use this stuff in our own lives, right? To abandon the truth in our hour of need is to not understand the truth. We take these classes, we go and we discover that we're not victims, we're actually powerful, creative, spiritual beings, and we put it to use in our own lives, and we see shifts happening in our own lives by putting it together, and yet somehow it doesn't play into, well, somehow that's different. Instead of that, actually, this is the new story we need. But how do we get there? How do we get to that new story? So that we're not discounting somebody's experience, but we're standing for something greater. Well, it's right in our purpose statement. Awakening consciousness. The thing about our purpose statement is if we're saying that what we want is to awaken consciousness, then on some level we must see that we're asleep. Or else what is there to awaken? It's right there. Awakening consciousness. Everybody got real excited. Ooh, awakening consciousness through spiritual community. And that means that you realize, I do, that we're still not fully awake. Because what would there be to awaken if we were already awake? And so there's a part of this where we're dreaming. And if we see it that way, if we see it through that perspective, hang in here with me. Take a deep breath. Come on. If we see it through the perspective of that we are not awakened, which means we are dreaming, it means there's another way of seeing this that we have yet to see. And I believe that. One of the more interesting things for me is how easy it is for us to believe that there'll be a new technology. I mean, when JFK announced we're going to the moon, there were a lot of people, and there was no technology that could do that at the time. There were a lot of folks who jumped on the bandwagon and said, we're making it to the moon. We can do that. But then at the same token, you talk to people about what we want to do is create a loving, thriving, transformational world. What we want to do is transform who we are being. And a lot of people go, people will never change. We are way more willing to believe in the evolution of technology before we are willing to believe in the evolution of ourselves, of humanity. Oh, maybe I'll transform, but I don't know about those folks in the Middle East. The fight that's been going on between what people have labeled as good and evil has been going on for over 100,000 years. And that fight keeps continuing because it's insane to think that doing the same thing or thinking the same thing is going to change anything. And yet, every article I read is in the same thinking that, some do a better job of saying, well, both sides are evil. It's the same container. And in that container, we are getting the same results. Now, is what I'm speaking about today, you might be asking yourself, well, what good is that going to do for those girls being raped, or the people who are suffering in the Middle East on both sides who have been killed? What good is this thinking going to do them? Well, it didn't do. What thinking did the people who the last time there was war and people died did do any good? Or the one before that, or the one before that? People keep trying to find solutions with the same thinking, and it hasn't helped anybody for 100,000 years. So yes, what I'm talking about is evolutionary. What I'm talking about is the need for a shift in our consciousness. We need to awaken. But if we're going to go around thinking, wait a minute, it's not about awakening, those people are really evil, what about psychopaths who just go around and kill and don't care and all this stuff? Well, in my mind, they're just in a deeper dream. They're actually more asleep than others. The more awake I become, the further away violence appears to me as something useful. The more awake we actually become, violence becomes this incredibly silly thing. I mean, why would we even consider that? That's what's happening for me. I'm just noticing it, the ways in which I have expressed anger in the past, the ways in which I've expressed lots of different emotions, is shifting as I am awakening. My entire life, as far back as I can remember, I have had nightmares around being trapped. And woken up with my heart pounding. Well, we're talking 60-something years. This has been happening for me. One time, I think I was in my late 20s, I had this dream where I was actually flying through the cosmos. It was incredible. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, prison bars surrounded me and trapped me, and I was entrapped in the middle of space. I have tons of dreams, and they're all about feeling trapped. A little over a week ago, for the first time in my life, I had a dream where I was trapped, and then I freed myself. And I woke up without my heart pounding. I woke up free. And I recognized that this was something new. And that's what's possible, is to awaken in a way that we get to experience something new. Do I know what it looks like? How it's going to unfold? Absolutely not. But the first step for all of us is to actually believe that it's possible. Because if we're going around with the continued thought of people will never change, then they won't. What we focus on, we give power to. That's a big part of our teaching here. What we focus on, we give power to. What we embody manifests. So if we continue to embody the old story that there is good and evil, then there is a divide, there is a separation that has been going on for over 100,000 years. It is time for a change. It is time for something different to arise. I could feel it. I could see it in my own life. Awakening is the key. We are in a dream, and we are so certain we're awake, that this is somehow real. I mean, how many here, am I the only one who has had a dream at night that I thought was so darn real and was so grateful when I woke up and realized it wasn't? Anybody else ever experienced that? Yeah. What makes you think it's any different here? Why do you think we call it awakening consciousness? It's a really hard concept when we look around and we go, this feels so darn real. Didn't that dream? We are in the process of moving to awaken. To do that, we need to actually believe that our vision, our loving, thriving, transformational world is possible. That people transforming is possible. This is the real key to even beginning down whatever road may unfold, is we have to believe it's possible. We have to believe that a new story, something that doesn't include good and evil, but actually includes awakening, is possible. If not, we already know how things unfold. We already know how it's going to happen again, because it's happened over and over and over in the past. Insanity, thinking the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And shifting the thinking a little bit that's still inside the same container doesn't cut it, obviously, because we've had great thinkers for the past, centuries. And it hasn't changed a thing. Horrific stuff still goes on. So since that's the case, why not try something new? Why not try thinking about this in an entirely different container, where instead of there being good and evil, it's just that degrees of being asleep, degrees of not yet awakening. That's what we're doing here. That's what's happening all over the world. And the more we can do that, the more we can stand in that place, just by holding it as a possibility, it becomes more and more possible. The more we can love that part of ourselves that we don't like, that we use words, that start with an A and end with whole, about ourselves, about others. You know what I'm talking about, right? We're not doing anybody any good. Not ourselves, not the world, not civilization as we know it. How often can we catch ourselves going, wait a minute, this isn't that that's evil, bad, or that person is, that word. It is that they're just simply not awake. They're less awake than I am. And that's what's going on, really. We know this. Otherwise, we wouldn't have picked awakening consciousness. We would have picked something else. So it isn't like this is a far-fetched idea, but it is one that we've been really having trouble thinking is possible. We'd rather believe that you can get to the moon before we'll believe that we can change as people. And the key here is shifting that. And who better to start with that shift than us? Right? Who better to start that kind of shift of, wait a minute, I can do this. I can make this shift. Change your thinking, change your life. What you embody manifests. All what you focus on, you give power to. All I'm doing here is talking about the basic teachings of Ernest Holmes, which is the founder of how we got to be here. And, maybe some of you are here for the first time. This teaching's called Science of Mind. It's got some great teachings in it to help us further our awakening. And at first, we start applying it to ourselves, which is a good place to start. Was for me. And we start seeing some change in our lives, and our lives start creating a little differently, and we go, wow, this really works. But, I don't think that person will get it. But if we can hold the possibility for all of us, if we start bringing our power, our focus to the possibility of that humans can actually evolve into a place of nonviolence and love, to where we can have a planet of loving, thriving, and transformation. That our vision is actually possible because people can change. As long as we hold that they can't, guess what? They don't. So it's up to us. It's up to anybody who's willing to take the time to go, wait a minute, I'm not thinking about this in a way that supports the world, that supports change, that supports the possibility that something new can occur, that supports the possibility of where an accord can happen in the Middle East, where the folks who are doing the raping in Sudan go, what am I doing? Yeah, as I have awakened, I look back on some of the things I've done in my life, and I want to make amends, and I do. I've made calls, and I've reached out, and it isn't just about, oh my God, I'm so sorry, sorry I did that. It's like, I want to make amends. That's where my consciousness is at. And I feel so good when I do that. It lifts me up. I feel, all right. Life can be different. So that's what I see. I see people who awaken and go, whoa, what have I been doing? Oh, I want to do this different now. Let me make amends. Can you imagine a world like that? Where people awaken like that? But if you're sitting there going, that's never going to happen. What we focus on, we give power to. What we embody manifests. These are the teachings. If we believe them, we take them in, our own lives start to shift. And in doing so, we are adding to the loving, thriving of the world. This is the real key. Adding to the loving and thriving transformation of the world. We get to do that. But first, we need to be willing to shift the idea of good and evil. Anything, us and them, anything that starts feeling separating, that's the story we've been doing. We see the results that story has gotten us. It's a new story. Are you guys up for that? Are you guys up for a new story? All right, let's do a meditation on it. So get comfortable, close your eyes, and relax. And as always, we start by being on the path. It is the perfect path. It is your path. How it feels beneath your feet. The air against your skin, what you see, what you feel, what you hear. It's perfect for you. It's your perfect path. It takes you to a clearing. This is your sanctuary, your perfect place. How it feels, how it looks, how the sounds. It's perfect for you. And in the middle of this safe sanctuary that is yours, there is a chair. It is the perfect chair. It's so perfect that when you sit in it, you go, ah. And take another deep breath and relax even more. Now imagine a world that is loving, thriving, and transformational. Imagine humanity as awakened. Look how that feels. Imagine yourself walking around, interacting in a world of love, of thriving, of transformation. Imagine what that's like. Really take in the possibility. In this imagining, ask your higher self, what's your next step in the creation of this new world, of this new humanity? What is your next step? Not what's your big intention that you're going to change the world, simply whatever it is that is yours to do as a next step. Thank yourself for this knowing. Thank yourself for being part of the solution instead of the continuing story. And when you're ready, come back to the room. This is what's possible. A new story, a new world. It can begin today. Where we put the old story behind us and we breathe in the new. Thank you. I love you.